Hey, Brian Goulet here of gouletpens.com, and I don't really know whether this video is good news or bad news, but it's a change. So, Noodler's Black Swan and Australian Roses, it's been around for about 3 years, very popular ink color. The reason it's so popular is it's a really nice burgundy color. It's got a black component to it that is permanent, waterproof, and really intense shader. Great performing ink, really kind of unique. A lot of people love it, great for flex pens. And it's been really solid. It's been one of our best sellers here for the last 3 years. So what happened was a couple of months ago, one of our team members was sampling up this ink and noticed a difference in the color change. I'm super proud of that. Just from doing the sampling, to notice that color difference is pretty awesome. But anyway, so notice that. We talked to our distributor, said, hey, what's going on here? Said, hey, maybe it's a batch thing, maybe it's a, something like that. And so we set it aside, dug deeper, waited to see, because the way this ink is, it can change color a little bit over time. And so we were told, hey, put it aside, we'll investigate deeper. So a couple months go by, things still haven't changed. We investigate deeper. We talked to Nathan Tardif himself, and I think what we've determined is that one of the raw components of the dyes has changed coming from the manufacturer before it gets to Noodler's. So long story short, Nathan said that basically because of the components that are used in this ink, he really can't reformulate it to be like the old original version. So his options pretty much are to discontinue the ink altogether, or continue making it moving forward with this new slight color shift. So he's continuing to make it, and I'm presenting this information to you so that you're aware that the color has changed, okay? So at this point, there hasn't been any distinction that's different on the bottle or in the naming or anything like that, so it's gonna be a little bit confusing, but basically anything from July 2014 moving forward is going to be the new color. And you can tell the difference between the new and the old color. You can. It's not as drastic as it could be, but there is a difference. It's more drastic in a swab form than it is in writing form. But that's why I'm making this video, is to get that information out to you. So there's not really a whole lot that can be done about it at this point, I'm sorry to say. You can let me know your opinion. You can let Nathan know your opinion. Just comment on this YouTube video or on Ink Nouveau. And I would love to hear your concerns, of course. I'm right there with you. My hands are tied just like yours, but we can let our voice be known. So I wanted to shoot and get you some alternatives to the new color, the old color, give you some comparisons, just try and give you as much information as possible. So let me go ahead and do that now. All right, so here we are. Old color, new color. You can definitely see the difference. The properties are gonna be the same, but the color itself has changed. Now, first things first, let's take a look at the old color. So I went ahead and pulled some swabs that I think are fairly comparable. First thing I want to show you is Black Swan and English Roses. So these two colors were always fairly similar. English Roses is a little more of a muted kind of brownish red. Australian Roses was always more of a burgundy. So this color hasn't changed. So that one is still around. Australian Roses shades a little more intensely, but English Roses is still in that same family. Some other colors that are somewhat similar to it. Private Reserve Claret, definitely not as intense a shader, but somewhat similar in hue. It's not as vibrant as Australian Roses, but that might be an option for you if you really liked that old color. Diamine Merlot, it's a little darker, a little more of a muted purple, but something similar. Diamine Syrah, that one is really more of a red burgundy. Doesn't shade quite as intensely as Australian Roses, but very popular color in and of itself. And the last one I have that's comparable is Diamine Amaranth. Really a much more muted color, not as vibrant, not as dark, but all of these colors are the closest thing that I could find to the old color of Black Swan and Australian Roses. Now, let's take a look at the new one, pulled a whole bunch of different ones that I thought might be similar. First thing I want to show you is Black Swan and English Roses next to this one. So these two colors are much more distinctly different. Still going to get more shading in Australian Roses. You can see the shading here even with the swab. You can see a lot of the other swabs don't even have that kind of intense shading, but this one still does. So here's English Roses, much more muted, much more of a brown red. It's not quite as vibrant and fuchsia-like as Noodler's Cactus Fruit Eel. This is a popular color on its own, but it's really kind of different. Noodler's Purple Heart, this is a Goulet exclusive, but they are somewhat similar in hue. The Australian Roses definitely has more of a pink tint to it, and it's also got more black, so it's kind of like brighter and darker at the same time, if that really makes any sense. Purple Heart is a much more muted color though. You can see here that it's really kind of just one flat color as opposed to this deep, intense shading. Noodler's Saguaro Wine as well. A little more of a fuchsia kind of flair to it, but not as much of a darker, deep purple as Australian Roses is now. And then a couple other colors that are close. Noodler's Burgundy. That one is somewhat close, not going to be as intense a shader, a little bit more red to it, but something close. And then Private Reserve Burgundy Mist. This one is not going to shade nearly the same. It's not as vibrant, doesn't have that kind of pink component to it. Just a little darker purple, but it's similar in the more the darkness of this one. So again, here's the old Black Swan Australian Roses and the new one. So I've inked up both versions of Black Swan. In the Lapis Ahab here, I have the original Black Swan that was made from 2011 until early 2014. And in the clear Ahab, I have the new Black Swan from 2014 moving onward. Both are great inks. So that's the original. Very much of a burgundy color, very wet, intense shading. It's got a black component to it that's very permanent. Now inking up the new one. There you go. This one is still an intense shader, still has a great dark component to it. It's just a little more purple, that's all. I actually really kind of dig the new color, honestly. I mean, I will miss the burgundy Black Swan, but you know, still gonna get great performance, intense color. It's kind of unique. For those of you that like the darker purples, I think this change will be wonderful. But now at least you have a little bit better idea of what you're getting between the old and the new. So there you have it. Please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you like it is. I would love to hear what your thoughts are though, so please leave me a comment. And you can subscribe to this YouTube video if you like it and you want more. I'll always try and give you the information that I have. Thanks so much for watching, and right on.